From post-match trash talk to slapping fans in the face, Dustin Poirier has been in the news lately. But now he's taken it a step further by mocking Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler over Twitter. Yep, looks like the UFC star has taken up trolling his former opponents as his latest hobby. Now, I get that there's bad blood between Conor and Dustin, and maybe even rightfully so. But this is a little too uncalled for, isn't it? I don't know if you guys remember, but the fight between McGregor and Chandler is the first time McGregor will be in the cage since that brutal fight in which Dustin broke Conor's tibia and fibula. This happened in the first round of the third fight with the American back at UFC 264 in July 2021, so it's been a while. And now, after so long, the person the Dubliner happens to be going against is actually another former opponent of Dustin's. So the 34-year-old took this opportunity to mock both athletes. He trolled them by tweeting, "The Ultimate Fighter, All My Children Edition." Yeah, that's brutal. But maybe you wouldn't think so if you hear about his bad blood with Conor. After all, Conor did once threaten to murder Dustin in his own bed. Okay, so these two had the inconclusive tiebreaker trilogy bout in 2021. Basically, it ended with McGregor severely injured, but that didn't stop the Irishman from some really crude trash talk. In the post-match interview, Conor made a really bold statement. He said that Dustin's wife Jolie had been in his DMs. Ouch. I guess Dustin didn't really take that all too well. Things would have been fine if the Irishman had stopped there. But he didn't. Instead, he said that he was going to murder Dustin in his sleep. Take the fight outside the ring if he had to. The American thought McGregor had taken trash talk way too far. He was so not cool with this kind of attitude. And this recent incident showed that even now he's still not over it. Because 2 years later, he slapped a fan at Mardi Gras for making the Conor McGregor joke. Yep, I'm not kidding. 2 years, guys. Basically, he was in Louisiana at a Mardi Gras parade. Him being such a big deal in UFC and all, hordes of fans showed up to meet him. Let me add here that he was with his wife Jolie and their little daughter. Anyway, this one unfortunate, but also maybe stupid fan was holding a particularly infuriating sign. It said, "Your wife's in my DMs." Basically reminding the UFC star about Conor's cruel joke 2 years ago. I think this fan really wasn't thinking straight. Would you really want to offend a UFC star of his caliber at such close proximity? I certainly wouldn't. Anyway, Dustin popped off his ride and slapped the unsuspecting prankster right in the face. Then he popped back on and enjoyed the rest of the evening with his family. So needless to say, he's so not over what happened between him and the Dubliner. Maybe if you think about it like that, it makes sense that he made the tweet mocking McGregor. That isn't all, though, because apparently Michael Johnson had the perfect comeback to this tweet. So, if you recall, Dustin just came off a third-round submission win over Chandler. This is why he was so proud when he boasted about Chandler and McGregor being his children. But he spoke too soon, you guys, because there was this other guy who brutally knocked him out back in 2016. That's right, I'm talking about Michael Johnson. So he took things a few steps further with a tweet of his own that totally embarrassed Dustin, in my opinion. He tweeted, "Happy day in the Johnson household," and then followed up with, "Seeing my grandchildren coach tough. Proud grandpa, I could cry." I'm not gonna lie, guys, this definitely cracked me up. Because if Dustin is Chandler and McGregor's father, then Johnson just publicly tweeted that he's Dustin's father. I guess the moral is, kids, think before you tweet. Especially if you've been brutally knocked out by someone else in the ring. With that said, things get even funnier, since Johnson included a very interesting portrait with his tweet. That's right. He added a hilarious picture that showed him as a senior figure in a bizarre family portrait. In fact, the portrait had all three children, Poirier, McGregor, and even Chandler. What a laugh. So clearly this upcoming fight is pretty hyped up. All eyes are on McGregor and Chandler for now, and the only one talking big isn't Dustin. Yep, Chandler has made some bold statements that this fight is going to be a knockout win for him. Is it just me, or does this whole thing reek of overconfidence? Now just hear me out. You'll agree with me by the end. So Chandler's going around saying that he's going to get right into Conor's face, make him take a backward step right away. He's claiming the Dubliner will feel his presence right from the beginning of the fight, and then from there on, they'll go wherever the fight takes them. Well, buddy, you kind of just gave away your game plan, if you can even call it that. He got even cockier with his next statement. He's basically claiming that if he wanted to pick Conor up and put him down, he could easily pick him up and put him down. And this is how Chandler plans on beating up Conor and getting a submission from the Irishman. Chandler's also claiming that he could end the fight in the second round. Well, that's his Mystic Mike take on all of this. But what's Dana White got to say about all this? Well, for one, he's confirmed that this hyped-up fight will happen later this year. The two have already coached together on The Ultimate Fighter. He's also said that the two of them will be traveling together to Las Vegas this month. This is because they're planning to start filming The Ultimate Fighter. Is it just me, or is it kind of weird that Conor McGregor is out there coaching, even though he failed to register for the United States Anti-Doping Agency? Oh well, back to White, I guess. So the UFC boss admitted that he doesn't have any details for the fight. I don't have a place, I don't have a date, he said. But he did mention that both of the fighters are going to get there the Monday after the Super Bowl. That's when they'll start figuring out the detailed logistics of this fight. So what do we know for sure? Well, I can say for a fact that the 31st season of the wildly famous MMA-based reality TV show is scheduled to run from May 30th to August 15th. And that means the match that we all await, well, it can't happen until the final show has aired. So at the very least, there's no match happening until August. Don't be disappointed though. I'm sure the two will keep up all this trash talk. This way, we'll all stay entertained, you know? One thing's for sure, I know who the fans will be rooting for. After all, McGregor stands as, hands down, the most popular MMA fighter of all time. His pay-per-view sales number is literally undefeated. Even though the last 7 years have been pretty dry for him, he still managed to have the biggest draw in the sport. He even makes regular headlines for his actions outside the ring. So fans are probably rooting for this man. And this, folks, was everything on Dustin Poirier's mockery of the upcoming match between McGregor and Chandler.